Hey, what's going on, guys? Today, I want to share something with you that is potentially life-altering. This video that you're watching right now, if you watch it to the end, I promise you that if you put into practice the things that I'm going to talk about here, your life can potentially change within the next 20 minutes or sooner. For this to work, first off, you got to be serious about changing your life, and second, you need to eliminate all distractions right now. I want you to be sitting in a quiet room, no distractions, no radio, no TV, your phone's on silent, no bullshit with the dog, put it in the bedroom, whatever you need to do to get completely in the moment. Because if you follow what I teach you here, this is a very powerful tool, and I teach it to all of my clients. This is something that is going to change your life. Here's how it works. With no distractions going on, with nothing cutting in and taking your attention away, I want you to sit somewhere where you have objects in front of you to manipulate. So let's say that you're sitting at the kitchen table. I want you to have a glass or a plate or a fork, something that you can manipulate in front of you. Okay? Here's how this works. I want you to sit there. I want you to bring your hand up. All right? This is going to work the best when you shut off this video and you're completely sitting in silence. Just take what I say into account and really listen to it here, because it's in silence that this is going to work and help you. I want you to put your hand in front of you, and I want you to study the back of your left hand. Now, when you're studying your hand, I want you to look at the knuckles, I want you to look at the curves, I want you to look at the pigmentation in the skin, whatever it is that gets you so centered on looking at your hand and studying it. Do it. Now, when you're looking at the back of your hand and you've got a clear picture of what your hand looks like, your specific hand, which looks nothing else like anybody else's in the world, I want you to take your hand and I want you to turn it over. Now, when you turn it over, you're now looking at your palm, right? I want you to study your palm. I want you to study the calluses, the indentations on the skin. Really study your palm. Now, I want you to do something else. Turn your hand back over. Now, I want you to look at your hand and understand something. Don't move it. Your hand does not move until you tell it to. Now, I know that sounds simple, but really look at your hand for a moment and just sit in silence and realize your hand's not moving until you tell it to. Now, what I want you to do, when you want to, turn your hand over again. And again, now you're looking at your palm. But you're not looking at your palm until you told your hand to turn. Now, the point of this is that if we look at our reality as if it only extends to about here, I have complete control over when my hand turns, right? Now, with my hand not moving until I tell it to, if we liken that to reality, then the current reality is I'm looking at the back of my hand. When I change it, my new reality is I'm looking at the palm of my hand, which means that essentially I'm in control of reality, at least up to this point. But start to expand that, okay? You're sitting in silence in the kitchen or whatever you're doing. Start to expand that. Look at the glass in front of you. Look at the plate in front of you. Me, I got a folder right here. I got some pens. I got whatever. Really stay in the moment and look around you at your environment and realize that if you pick this pen up or your fork or plate or whatever's sitting in front of you and really do this, I'm dead serious, really do this. Pick up whatever it is and move it. Because when you move it, you've just changed the environment. You've changed your reality. Right? Now, extend a little bit further. Look around the room. Look at the table. Look at the couch. Look at whatever is in the room that you're currently in. and start to realize that you have control over all these objects. So we're going to extend the reality of which we control farther and farther. Now, with you in the moment completely, and realizing all the manipulation of the objects around you of which you have complete control over, I want you to start to extend that as far as your imagination will allow. And I want you to start to realize how much control you have over all these areas of your life. All these things that we think that life is just happening to us, and we run on autopilot throughout the day, and we don't think through all the decisions that we're making, and we don't do things that we know are going to get us closer to our goal. Start to realize you have control over what car you have. You have control over what person you're talking to. You have control over whether you go to work today or you don't. You have control over whether you work in a place you want to or you don't. It's all about applying yourself in the right directions. So if you've been following my videos, you know that I constantly talk about being conscious. Now, what does conscious actually mean? Conscious, when you're conscious, it is the opposite of being on autopilot. Most people operate solely on autopilot. And from time to time, they have a conscious experience where they're really in the moment. The point of this exercise is that when you realize that there's a lot of things, that are in your control that you completely can manipulate to change the reality around you, you become conscious. This can even extend to more esoteric type stuff, which is the way that you talk to your spouse, the way that you drive down the road, the way anything that you do. And when you combine this with the other tool, or one of the other tools that I put on this channel, the one specifically is just looking at every decision you make and saying, does this get me closer or further from my goal, or closer or further from what I want? When you are completely conscious and you realize how much power you have over your environment, then you make these decisions as to whether or not this is getting me closer or further from where I actually want to go. I was working with this girl who wants to have this, in her words, a round bubble butt, right? She wants to be extremely fit. She wants to look like these models. She sent me over some pictures of these models. Do I know how to get her there? Yes. I know a decent amount of fitness, and I can give her a meal plan plus, the workout that she has to follow, different exercises, all this stuff. Sure. I can absolutely get her to that point. But if I go and I hand all that to her without making her conscious, she's still on autopilot. And she's still just going to follow whatever the hell it is that I tell her to do and not think for herself. The most important thing you can ever do is become conscious of your life and have moments of autopilot. Basically swapping around the entire psyche that most people have had throughout their entire lives. So I did this with her. And the reason that this becomes very powerful is that if she wants that body and she puts that goal in her head, then she's going to start to, if she becomes conscious, she's going to start to look at, okay, she drinks soda. Well, obviously she shouldn't drink soda. She knows this. So she's going to pick up that soda and she's going to be conscious, not running on autopilot, and put that soda down. And then she's going to move on to whatever else she's doing. And for the most part, I won't really have to give her a meal plan. I won't really have to give her all these exercises. I'll be able to give her 10% of what it will really take for her to get there, and she'll carry the rest of the way in her own mind. This tool came to me. I was sitting one night, and I had a ball in my hand. And it was a squishy ball. It was a baseball. But I was sitting there in silence. And I was looking at this ball in my hands, and I was turning it over in my hands, and I was just thinking, I was contemplating a lot about life. And as I'm turning this ball, I all of a sudden started to think about the earth, the world. And I started to think about kind of how the world's in God's hands, right? Regardless of what you believe, doesn't matter. That's not what we talk about here. Holding that world in my hands and manipulating it and turning it around, I started to think about, what if this were my world? What if I had as much control over this ball as I had over my own life? As much control over this world as I had over my own life? And I started to think about it, and I was like, you know what? This ball doesn't move until I move it. And my world does not change until I make a change. And as I stared at this ball, I became so engrossed in the moment. And I started to have epiphanies about life. And I'll share more of them on this channel at a later time. But I started to have these epiphanies about life as I turned and manipulated this ball in my hands. And I started to realize if I had control over this ball, I probably have control over a lot of things. And then using that other tool to get me closer or further. Well, now I can manipulate this ball or my world into whatever it is that I want to achieve, what I want to obtain. So if you put those two tools together, I promise you, you will experience changes in your life. And you will move closer to whatever the goals are that you're setting for yourself. But you have to become conscious. This is probably the number one way that I teach anybody to become conscious. Simply realize what you have control over. So there's one thing that I want to tell you to let you know that you're doing this right. It's nothing scary, nothing like that. But as you're, and again, in complete silence is how you want to do this. Whatever you're looking at, when you're really studying it, this is a physical thing, but it's more a mental clarity coming through clouds. You're going to be looking at whatever the object is in silence alone, wherever you're doing this, and suddenly it is going to literally look as if there's a parting of clouds or a fog, even a brain fog, or even visual. You can have this take place. All of a sudden, you're super in the moment, as if this is the first time you're looking at yourself, or the first time that you're looking at whatever object that you're checking out. And what this is that you're becoming so conscious that it's something, especially if you've never done anything like this before, you're going to notice a massive change when you do this, because it's unmistakable when you kind of break through and you start to see. It's like things are more crisp. You're able to think more clearly about things. You're so in the moment. Your mind's not going 100 miles a minute, and I'm telling you, it will be literally as if a fog moves aside and you become completely in the moment and conscious. I literally do this some way, shape, or form probably almost every day, and I don't even realize that I'm doing it anymore because I stay so laser focused with whatever it is that I'm currently working on and such. The thoughts, like herding cats or whatever, if you try to keep all your thoughts together, they start to dissipate, because most of what's going on in your mind is complete and utter junk. It's worries for the future, which is basically a misuse of your imagination. It's garbage about you. It's just crap. All right. It's most of what's going on in your mind. Probably not very supportive towards what you're trying to move towards, and not very constructive. So give this a shot and be prepared for when that fog moves to the side. You're gonna know I'm really in the moment for the first time in my life. So that's it, guys. I want to share that with you today. If you take what I told you and you sit in silence in a room and you become completely engrossed in whatever it is that you're moving around the table, your mind will start to realize how much control it has over different areas of your life. And if you sit in silence long enough, this is basically a very minor form of meditation, you're going to start to have little epiphanies about life and certain decisions you've made that have led you to certain areas that you may or may not have really wanted to go, or led to certain results that you didn't want. This is also going to give you control over that ball, over that world that we think just happens to us. Because the world doesn't just happen to you. There may be events beyond your control, but there is not enough events beyond your control to stop you from achieving whatever greatness it is that you truly want. So I appreciate you watching this video. If you like the information, if you think this kind of stuff should get out there, subscribe, thumbs up the video, like it, and leave comments, because that helps me come up higher in the search results. All right, I think this information should get out there. I like to see people empowered, and if there's anybody you know of, like friends of yours and such, that would benefit from this, share the video with them. So thanks a lot for watching. I hope that helps. Leave some comments about what you figured out about your life. Talk to you soon.